Welcome to another episode of Drunken Cooking. Today we are starting the long process of Cuban sandwiches. So, went to Myers, got myself a nice all natural pork center cut sirloin. I'm going to cut this, we're going to put it in marinade, we're going to sear it off in a hot pan. We're going to put it in a crock pot with the marinade. We're going to let it cook in the marinade for about 2 to 3 hours on high. When we get there, we'll kind of go as we go. Today's Drunken episode is brought to you by Founders Oktoberfest. Brought to you but not certified or sponsored by. So for marinade, I'm going to be using another Alden spice. This is Southwest Rub. This is kind of your cumin, chili powder, which I actually have some more of that. I'm also going to be using a chipotle spice too as well. Onion powder, garlic powder, and coriander, along with some brown sugar and orange juice. That right there is basically the marinade it's going to be sitting in and slow cooking in for the 2 or 3 hours it's in. Once we get towards the sandwich portion, we have to reshred the pork. We make it into sandwiches. This right here is just the first half, so it'll be kind of a long video. I'm going to be doing sections by sections. Other than that, let's get it started. Right now, I have a pan over here on medium heat. My dogs are having fun playing with themselves right now and creating all kinds of noise for my video, which is always super fun. So for the rub, I'm going to use the Southwest rub for the actual rub in the sear on the pork loin, and then the rest of the spices will actually go together with the orange juice and the brown sugar that'll go inside the crock pot. So for now, what we're going to do is we are going to open up this pork loin here. Remember, if you have been drinking, or if you haven't been drinking, either way, knives are sharp, don't cut yourself. So I'm just going to put it in a 9x13 pan, so that way I can rub it all down nice and good. Now, there's two types of people. There's some people that say, cut off the fat. There's other people that say, don't cut the fat, that's where the flavor is. Depending on how you are going to cook this, depends on how you will use the fat or whether or not. Me, I'm putting it in a crock pot, so it's not going to really melt down the fat and put it into it like if you were roasting it. So I will cut off a little bit of the fat cap. You don't have to. This is preference mostly. It's a preference for most. You don't have to do it, but if you want to, go ahead. If not, it's your choice. Now, if I was putting this on the grill and I was grilling it, or if I was roasting it in an oven or underneath a broiler, that'd be different. I've just had really bad experiences with fat caps and slow cooks. It just doesn't cook right for me. I don't know if I'm just doing something wrong or what the deal is. So I'm gonna just keep kind of chopping away. I'm not gonna cut all of it off. I want to leave some of it on there. I mean, I cut the good majority of it off. I mean, I left some big pieces on there. I'll try to trim down, but I mean, to really get all of it, you'll be really cutting into some good meat, and you really don't want to do that. So from here, Missy E, be quiet. So from here, I'm going to sprinkle some of this Southwest rub on here very liberally. Missy E, Edith. No, now is not the time. My little E-girl. Being very vocal today. Miss E. She is my professional beggar at 6 months old. Not far behind her sister, who is also a professional at begging. That is Miss Gertrude. So we're going to make sure that this has a lot of spice on it, because this is going to add to flavor that you will be developing in the crock pot. So most of the time when I season stuff, I especially rubs, put a lot on there until the meat is like almost dry. Like the outside of it's dry. It's not sticky, it's not wet. It's just like this dry feel to it. Okay, so from there, I got that all set in there. Make sure we don't waste any. We'll kind of rub the meat in the pan to get all this stuff off the top. Okay, so from here, I already have my pan heating up on the stove. I'm going to put about a tablespoon and a half of oil in the pan. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit on high so that way when it hits. Sorry, I got something on my screen. There we go. Okay. So when it hits the pan, it'll sear, and then once it sears, it'll kind of trap in the juices. That's what the sear is there for. It's to trap in all the goodies goods, the goody good goods. So from here, let that get nice and warm. That's a nice piece of meat right there. We're going to lay that right down in there. Now we're going to let that sear on each side for about 3 to 4 minutes, depending on how hot your pan is. If you have a really hot pan, I don't really think my pan was quite hot enough. So I'm going to probably have to wait until it heats up for the other sides. Really appreciate my dogs barking during this time, but hey, you know, it wouldn't be a homemade video of learning cooking if you didn't. Stuff like that. Not my favorite beer. Kind of reminds me of like a Newcastle, like a brown ale type. But yeah, it's not bad. Not my favorite, but it's also not bad. That was one down the hash. That's number 2. So, got this going. We're going to let this sit in here for another minute or so. Get a nice sear, and I'll rotate the... I'm going to rotate it a little bit on each side, sear each side off, and then I'll stick it in the crock pot and let it finish its way off in there with the marinade. Okay, so as far as the marinade, got a big cup here. I'm going to use about a cup of orange juice because of the size of the roast. The roast is probably a good 2-3 pound roast. So got the orange juice in there. Now, orange juice is already sweet, but when it cooks up and the brown sugar adds a little bit of sweetness, but it'll also start to crystallize your stuff as well, so make it more like sticky, which is kind of a good thing sometimes. Alright, so from here, chili powder, put that in there. It's about a half a tablespoon. This stuff right here, chipotle smoked red jalapenos. Really good stuff. I use that in another recipe that I might use 1 or 2 times in the near future. One that a lot of people always want to get off me, and I might share one of these days, but probably not anytime soon, which is my barbecue sauce recipe. So I'm going to do a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And of course, with some stuff, everybody has their own. This is just what I use. You can always use your own spices. Look up a recipe, or if you already have a recipe and you just want to look at somebody else's stuff, that's cool too. Coriander. Most of the stuff's all going to be about a tablespoon, teaspoon, half a teaspoon. So this is a teaspoon of coriander, ground coriander. I think it's about time to fit my meat. Getting kind of smoky in here. Alright, so we're going to fit my meat because I don't want it to burn like it did. But there was one person that also said one time there was a borderline between char and burnt, and I think we hit that borderline. So, we got that in there, got all of our stuff in there, and now we're going to stir this up. And you can stick like some stone ground mustard in here. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can stick in here to make a marinade for your Cubans. But pretty much the one thing that really sets it apart, that makes it the actual marinade that you'll be cooking in, is the orange juice and basically the taco spices. That's Miss Gertrude. She's having a fun time. Too hot a pan, so there we go. Alright, so got her all seared off. That's charred, not burnt. Okay, so put it in the crock pot. Turn this off so that way we don't smoke up the rest of my house. Alright. Yeah, we're gonna have an issue. Why don't you open up the door? Make sure the dogs don't sneak out. Okay, so I put a little bit of olive oil on there. And we're going to stick the marinade right over top of it. And we're going to let that cook in there for 3 to 4 hours. And we'll rotate the meat probably every half hour or so. If it starts to get a little too dry and all your marinade starts to boil out, you can just add a little bit more orange juice or make a little bit more marinade to stick in there. So from there, once we start to shred the meat and we start putting our sandwiches together, I'll see you then. Welcome back to the Drunken Cooking. We're doing Cubans. I have my pork in here. I've had it in here for about 4 hours. And we got this nice fall. I mean, I'm not even pressing on this and it's just falling apart.
Should have showed it on that burnt part. All the pretty charring.
So I'm going to kind of shred this up a little bit. This right here is going to be for sandwiches. Kind of pull out a little bit that you're going to need for your sandwiches, or all of it, shred it, put it back in the marinade. You can even probably add some thickener too. It's alright. They were already yelling in the first one too, so it's all fine.
Ladies,
so,
why you freaking?
Kind of shred this up a little bit. Got enough here for about 2 sandwiches, which got a kid-free night tonight, so it's just going to be me and the wiffle.
I'm not a wiffle.
Not a wiffle?
No.
Oh shit, me and the wife.
That suggests you need a bat. Are you going to get a bat?
Gonna get a bat. Okay, so got my stuff separated here.
That's not
So I have 2 pans, make it in stages. I have a bigger pan, frying pan for the actual grilling of the bread, and the other one where I actually stick the stuff together. So I'm going to take my pork, put it in the pan, have a pan on like medium heat, put some nonstick on there, get that hot, put some ham on there, some cheese. Then once that warms up through and you get the ham warm and the cheese starting to melt, then you can transfer it to the bread and actually make the sandwich, so that way your sandwich doesn't burn before everything's all warm. So from here, I'm going to turn these pans on here, get these good going. Beautiful, beautiful thing. That was first sandwich. So.
Fuck off, loser.
So I use rye bread. You can use swirl, but for most time, rye's usually the best, tastes the best. Some people butter the actual bread. I actually just like sticking the butter inside the pan, letting it melt, sticking the bread in there. You get a better base on it, I feel.
It's less greasy.
Yeah.
For sure, too.
So, get these pans going, get some non-stick in the one. Get our ham out and get all that stuff ready so that way. Now when you top it, you can obviously top it with whatever you want. I normally do a stone ground mustard or a mustard Dijon of type. Dill pickle. These are slices, like the sandwich slices. I've used like relish in the past, and that usually does okay as well. This time I'm also going to try using a little bit of the sauce that the meat was cooked in. Add some thickener, maybe have that as a topping. You can always try that too. I'll let you know how that works out if I decide to do it. So, pan's warm. I'm going to transfer the pork over here. Make it kind of in the sandwich shape, so that way when you grab it with the spatch, you can just kind of transfer from one to the other right to the sandwich, and it will make it nice and easy for you. Two slices of ham should be good. This is Black Forest ham. You could probably use like a Virginia ham or a you could probably use a Virginia ham or like a honey baked ham or something like that. I'm sure that'd be okay. Probably add a little bit of sweetness to it, but I like the bluntness of the ham without the sweetness.
I like Black Forest.
Yeah, Black Forest is good.
Or off the bone, but sometimes it's too salty. It depends on which brand you get too.
It's true. Dietz and Lots. I always go Dietz and Lots. I think that's probably one of the best delis out there. I'm sure Boarhead's pretty good. That shit's expensive. So normally, I think last time we used provolone cheese or a Munster. Today we are going with baby Swiss.
You got baby Swiss?
Got baby Swiss.
Aww.
Oh, what? Who doesn't? You don't like baby Swiss?
I don't like Swiss that
Well,
much.
that's just too damn bad, because that's what we're having.
It's
So
like
we got
you don't
those in the
even
pan.
know me.
Huh?
It's like
I know you plenty. That's why I'm making it, so that way you don't eat this sandwich and you have something else, and I get 2 sandwiches. So from here, cover this up. That right there will melt the cheese. It'll get nice and warm, and that way we can transfer it easier to the bread. So as far as the bread goes, it's good stuff. Okay. Got our pan. It's getting warm. This stuff over in this pan right here, if you have a hot pan, it should only take you 3 or 4 minutes to warm up for the cheese to kind of melt. It's going to do more cooking when you have it on the bread and you flip it. This is just to kind of get it going so that way you don't burn your bread before your inside is actually warm. Trying to find my my spatula that the boys took.
Oh, it wasn't the blue one.
Bah! Okay. So we got that. Come over here. Put some butter in our pan. Okay, we're gonna let that melt down. And we'll take our 2 pieces of bread.
And now the birds are going off.
That's fine. They were going off earlier as well. I'm gonna grab my phone here. 1 second. Okay, so from here, what I normally do is I kind of put the butter in there, and then I just kind of move the bread around in there so that way it gets all nice and buttery on the bottom. Usually coats it pretty well. We'll wait until these start to get a little bit brown. This right here will start to melt right here. So I have my sandwich set up right here like that. So I have my stuff underneath, my ham, my cheese, cover it so that way it kind of melts the cheese a little bit. And then we'll just transfer the filling to the bread, and then put the other top, flip it, you know, until the sides are nice and brown. And then you put on your mustard and your ketchup, or not ketchup, your mustard and your pickle and all that kind of stuff. So that's a normal Cuban that I make. I'm sure there's a lot of different recipes out there, but
Are they called Cubans or Cubanos?
Cubanos. But I mean, look at that. That is just a beautiful sight, isn't it? Isn't that just beautiful? Look at this. It just falls
Eat it,
right up.
you're
Oh
fine.
man, it just falls right apart.
Maybe don't touch the hot ceramic plating.
Ceramic plating.
Where'd this bug come from?
I told you I had the door open because I
You smoked up the house.
smoked up the house.
You're licking all of your fingers and then you're touching all the food.
Well,
There is a corona going around.
nobody else is eating it, so I'm here all by myself. So, one piece.
That was only a little creepy.
I know, I was supposed to be creepy. That was why it's funny.
Was it though?
Was it? I don't know, was it?
Fine.
Turn it down there. Cheese is starting to melt. Got some sizzle going on in here. We'll give that about another minute or so. And then for the sauce over here, like I said, I'm going to take a little bit of cornstarch, throw a little bit of cornstarch in there, kind of thicken it up, make kind of something we can either dip our Cubano in, or just kind of spread it over the top. Not sure really how I'm gonna work that out, but we're gonna go that way right now. Get out some cornstarch, make a roux. Rudy roo roo. Looks like I have about a cup's worth of stuff in there, so we're only going to use probably a hefty tablespoon. Just because you can always add more, you can never take it out. Now most people usually try to take the stuff, mix it to make their roux. I usually use using cold water to make the roux first, so that way it kind of blends in a little bit easier. Cold water doesn't set the starch, so that way it's not going to get thick, because that's what the heat and that's for. It's kind of like what do they call that? Tempering. A lot of people use the hot stuff to temper it. When they do that, it starts the set process with the cornstarch, so then it'll start setting up and getting thick while you're trying to mix it, rather than being in the pot while it's going. So I'm just going to dump a little bit in at a time.
God damn it! Maybe stir a little bit, not so vigorously. You just fucking sloshed it on my hand.
Oh, stop.
It's boiling, and you just hit me in the freaking hand. Yeah, you
Where?
actually did.
Where? Well, shouldn't have been sitting so close.
I'll fucking throat punch you, bitch. yelling at me because I'm sitting too close because you're sloppy.
I'm sloppy. Sloppy Joe. Alright, so let's get a whisk out and get this going so that way I can hit my wife with some more stuff.
I'm not, no. I've got my laptop on the one side, I've got my phone on the other side. You guys do that? No. No.
Know what? What you got to say?
Reason.
Well, that's why you don't sit right where somebody's cooking with hot shit.
This is my stupid chair, and you just happen to always cook in front of it.
Well, that happens sometimes. I'm sorry.
Even when I move to the other side of the counter, you're cooking in front of it.
Well, it's because I want you to watch what I'm doing. I need to be supervised like a child because apparently I just splash hot shit all over people without warning.
That actually hurts. And I did not hear an apology, fucker.
Not yet. I'll get there.
Piss off.
Alright. So, let's see how that actually kind of turned out pretty good. We're going to put it right here on the cutting board. And it actually turned out not so bad as far as the thickness. That's pretty good. That's good. Alright, so cheese is melted. Bread is brown. Transfer some stuff over. So, got cheese melted, ham's warm, stuff warm. Transfer over the bread. Burning the hair off my arms from the hot plate next to me.
Just that boiling hot something looked at you? What? Oh, no.
Why are you being mean? I did nothing to you.
Why so?
So, when you flip it, I'm going to butter this side and butter the other side because I'm going to stick the mustard and the pickles on before I flip so that way the sandwich is all ready to go when it's done. So we're going to get these over here. Grab my Dijon. Put that on top. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, we're good there. Throw a couple of pickles on here. Watch out, dog.
It's calling George Carlin. Snap, crackle, fuck you. I don't know which one of them said it.
At the time, I was reaching for the artificial sweetener at the time. Alright, so get pickles on there. Top on there. For the moment of truth, now we gotta flip it. Alright, so let's see what we kind of got here. Alright, so in there, Cuban sandwich. So we'll just wait for that other side to brown up a little bit, and then we can put the nice sauce right here that I made on the side to dip in or put on top of. And that concludes my Cuban sandwich for Drunken cooking. And maybe one day I'll actually know how to cook something And you can actually learn something from me.
I think they're just learning. Made with love means I lick the spoon, or in this case,
No.
your fingers like a crazy
So now,
person.
if I had guests over here, I do use proper etiquette. I wash my hands a lot. I don't do this when I have guests over, but since it's my food,
And mine.
you kissed me for Christ's sakes.
But that don't mean I want your lick fingers all over everything.
Thank you for watching.